Everybody, and welcome to Eye of Soul Radio. I am Psychic Medium Jaime. It is Thursday, you guys. That means the weekend is quickly approaching us. For those of you that get to celebrate the weekend, this is an exciting time. And for those of you where your work week is just starting, well, guess what? You can listen to me on any of our podcasts. You can go back and listen to us on transformationtalkradio.com, on Facebook, wherever you want to go. That's the joy of it. And while I'm talking to you guys, as we know that I have an issue with talking with my hands, I try and keep my hands, down and playing with my pencil. Instead, I'm letting all the lead out. So there we go. All right, you guys, tonight we're going to talk about when darkness fuels you. So this is not a heavy, dramatic show by any means, but it is something that I like to discuss because I am seeing a change, and I'm seeing a change in the energy that's coming through the veil, if you will, for those of you that call it the veil, from the other side. I'm seeing how it affects family members, how it affects the individuals, and how it's affecting space as well. Yes, folks, it can affect your space, your land, where you're at. It can also be filtered in from people from the outside inward. So it could be neighbors, it could be people that drive by. Energy is around us all the time. Why? Because we are made of energy, right? So sometimes in our life, we have those days where we allow, consciously and subconsciously, darkness to take a hold and guide us. And when I say darkness, again, it doesn't have to be this heavy, oppressive thing. Darkness can be where you're standing in line and, somebody cuts in front of you, or somebody's putting their groceries on the conveyor belt really slowly while they're waiting for someone to go get that last orange that they needed for that recipe. And you're sitting there starting to fume, and that anger starts to fill you, right? That's kind of a darker side to us, right? Maybe you're thinking things that aren't so nice. I know that a lot of us do that in traffic, right? I know that on Shades of Spirit Radio, you guys have heard us talk about things like that and how we have to just come from a space of love and light. But there are days where we're just not, right? So we're letting that energy come in. We're letting that energy start to overtake our thoughts. It starts to manifest within our physical bodies, and we start to actually exude that out as well. Some people just feel like negative stuff happens to them all the time. Do you have any of those in your life? Why does this always happen to me? Oh my gosh, woe is me. Or how come I always get the short end of the straw? All that type of thinking and outward comments allows us to be in that space of negative thinking, which then brings us to a darker space, which brings us into that heavier energy, which then brings that exact energy back to us, right? Others allow this darkness to move them into a power stance. So I'm wondering how many of you have been affected by someone in that space, right? Drawing these energies in the afterlife to them, like fuel to the fire. And then what happens is the more that they can provoke fear in others, that they can diminish the light in others, the bigger they feel they're growing. In reality, they're not growing that big. What's happening is that they're actually shrinking into the space and allowing the energies around them to take over and feed off of them, right? But when they can verbally abuse us, sexually abuse us, when they can, you're getting, just all of those type of energies around you that you're being manipulated by someone. They are fueling that fire within themselves to continue to feel as if they're just this powerful being. And in reality, we know that that is not the case. And it starts to diminish our light. Then we start to go into that darkness stage as well. And then that cycle really starts to hit. Some people resort to drinking. They'll resort to doing drugs in order to get out of that mindset as well, to numb it, if you will. And when we go to that level, we allow the darkness to step in as well, because we're no longer in control of the conscious mind and the thinking, right? We're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable in that state. So there's all sorts of different ways that we can bring this space to us. And again, we're human, okay? We are human, and we are in this space because we've opened up to it. And again, it's not always conscious, right? So I have a client. I've had numerous clients actually the past few months, and I've titled this segment "The Night Before," right? Because what happens is that when we start to be in that space, we really do start to fuel that fire. We really start to serve up that energy on a silver platter to the energies around us that we cannot see, right? And I'm going to help you today learn how to eliminate these energies from your space, re-empower you, and take back your power. You're going to be in that space of power and love and light, right? So the night before, picture it. Everything's going well. It was a very happy family. Daughter just came home from school. Everything is just on the up and up. Everybody has just got this positive light, right? We've got a family dinner, went to the beach, came home, had a family movie, popped some popcorn, and then the darkness fell. And it fell upon the majority of the house. And you can feel that shift, right? You know everything is going well, but you feel like something is just not quite right. What isn't settling within us? What is it energetically that we're feeling? Well, a lot of us don't put that puzzle piece together. We just know that there's a shift. And maybe it is where you're like, oh my gosh, maybe this movie triggered an emotion in my husband to where he just is shutting down or going back to a childhood state, or, oh, maybe where she's just acting like that because she's, in her teens and she just finished her first year of college. And so, she's come home a different person. We don't actually think that possibly that darker energy is around us and has been watching for these little weak pockets, if you will, which we all get from time to time. And they're kind of waiting for us to just be vulnerable enough for them to step in, right? This was a quote from a client a few years ago that I had worked with. And unfortunately, I've heard similar quotes from clients, ones that I've just recently had as well, to where what happened, what went wrong? We were all okay one minute, and the next minute we're like, hey, we're not okay anymore. What is going on? Why am I feeling this way? Or why is my significant other feeling this way? Had a husband in tears because he could not understand what was going on with his wife, who was fine months before. And realizing that this low space, this healing that she was trying to do was opening up other things in her life, and that she really needed to get help and to really be able to work through it. But at the same time, energies on the outside can be drawn to that energy and start to affect us because we're allowing it subconsciously, right? You also have to realize that dealing with lower level entities is not a party trick. And when I hear of people trying to work in this field and do this type of work who are not trained, who have not been doing this for a long time, who are doing it solo, that probably makes me the most nervous when they are undereducated and they're trying to do this alone. It's not a party trick. It's not something you should be opening up to unless you understand how to deal with the energies on the other side that are not so friendly, right? And at the same time, understand the physical effects that it can have on us, and us not knowingly understand that, protecting ourselves, calling in our own spirit teams. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. Does anybody have all the answers? Absolutely not. But what we can do is take our own experiences. We can take what we've learned from others that we've worked with. We can take what we've learned from reading books upon books and looking at all the different sides and different religious aspects of it, all of this, and bring it together. And then create what works for us, as well as bringing in paranormal equipment and other tools to the trade to make sure that we are doing this legit, and that we are saying to our clients, or we're saying to the spirits, okay, we're here and it's time for us to be in control, and we're going to show you what's going on and we're going to help you move through it, right? Do I find the answers with every case that I work? Not always, right? We do work through as much as we can. Sometimes there's just things that I am not to see, that I'm not supposed to be involved in, but I can find ways and I will help them. I'm never going to do what you see on some of these shows on TV, to where they all sit down for the big reveal and they tell them that their house is haunted and they have this attachment and they've got this going on. And thanks for having us on. I've got a shaman you can call, or here's another, medium that can help you move those spirits out. You're not going to find that from us. When you're working with us, we are going to find the answers with you. We're going to help you through that process. But we also have to remember that it's free will upon each individual that we work with, right? And so when we do that and we have that free will, what we work on in that moment can be changed drastically by that person who now is feeling even more powerful, so to say. Maybe they're feeling, more enlightened on that dark side. Maybe they're enjoying that feeling of just being able to give somebody a hard time and not have those consequences, or whatever it might be. And it takes a lot of house cleaning energetically for us to keep up our space after we've come in and worked with these energies and moved them on. I'm going to go to break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to continue to talk about this topic. I want to wish you guys a happy full moon, because it is our last super full moon of the year. Take advantage of this energy. I know for me, I am getting 1,000 things done. I'm also a little edgy, so I'm just trying to remind myself less caffeine, drink more water, eat grounding foods, go take a walk outside. So if any of you right now are feeling a little bit off, it's a big moon, and we've had planetary after planetary after planetary things coming in, right? A solar eclipse, well, the lunar eclipse, Mercury retrograde, the solar eclipse, now a supermoon. We have just been amped up for quite some time. And it's going to start to get better. I promise, energetically, from our planets. They're going to start playing nicely. You guys, if you want to book a 1-hour reading, it's $75. You go to www.shadesofspirit.com. I also have my Akashic record and past life connect with your blueprint reading. That special is $111. That goes from June and July. If you're looking to get more information into your Akashic records and how your past lives play into a part of what's going on now, I have been trained and have my certificate and everything to do these type of readings and to get you some of the answers you're seeking. You can book that on the website as well. Stay with me. I will be right back after these few messages. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eye of Soul Radio. I am Psychic Medium Jaime, discussing when darkness starts to kind of consume us and that heaviness starts to come around us, just based on life and everyday experiences that we go through. Kind of talking briefly about some of the things that I've seen in working in this field and working in the vibration that I work with very well on. I think a hard part for me is sometimes the separation, because working in that level, working in the lower realms is very comfortable. I can stay in these levels for quite some time, but I notice that when I do, and the more work that I do with it, it's a little bit harder for me to get myself up and out of that funk energetically and energy-wise, because that energy is collecting into my own auric field. My energy body here is like, whoa, we need a break. And I will have to go for energy work myself, because I'm not clearing it all out. Even though I'm bringing in my angels and Archangel Michael and Raphael, I still go to someone to have them help make sure that I'm fully cleansed of that energy. And so if you have someone in your home that seems to be a little bit lower level energy themselves, or if you have someone that has passed that has been not the nicest person, and you feel like that energy might be coming back in, energy work's a great way for you to be able to clear yourself of that space, to clear yourself of that energy, right? And going to a Reiki master, or just a Reiki practitioner, going to a shaman, going to someone that does any type of healing hands work or energy work, crystal work. I mean, it doesn't have to be one thing or another. Find what calls to you and then make that appointment, because we can help facilitate the release of that energy, clear it out of your chakras, help bring your vibration up so that you're not in that space anymore and you're not being affected like you were when you actually were in that parallel with them. I don't talk a lot about what I do when it comes down to cases that we work on. I don't advertise it. You're not going to see me post a lot of it on Facebook, here and there, just to let people know what we do, or how we've helped people, because it's very personal and because it is working in a space of love and light. And I really respect the privacy of my clients. I can't tell you how many, cases we have worked on over the past 5, 6 years, that people don't know that I do this type of work. And I don't always go around advertising it because I do work in a space of love and light. And it scares people from time to time to think about the lower stuff or the darker stuff that comes around. And so I don't want fear to be something in your guys' mind when it comes to this, because we can overcome it by raising our vibration and being in a space of pure love, pure intention. Even if we have these lower days every so often, it doesn't mean something negative is going to attach to you. That's not what we're saying. But from time to time, it does happen, and what to look for in people and how we help them. Because, if I talk about these entities as if they were some sort of character in like that nonfiction book, right? Or movie, it gives them more motive to also do what they're doing. If I give them a name and I give them a face and I work with them and I hear them and I help them heal and we work on the ascension process on the other side, that's one thing. But if they're energies who repeatedly want to try and come back, or they don't want the help and so they disappear when I'm there and they come back, the more that we talk about them, the more it fuels their energy, the more they get excited about it, the more that fear gets put back in the air, and then we're back into that cycle. So that's also another reason why I'm not going to be out here advertising that type of work either, because I'm not going to give the power back to that energy. They need to heal. And, if they're not going to do it on their terms, if they're not going to do it on my terms when I'm in the house, or the location, they'll eventually have to do it on their terms if they want to continue the ascension process, right? I use my empowerment to guide me through these sessions and love to overcome the fear in all my sessions. And you've heard me talk briefly about them before. Yes, I have been scratched. The obligatory, what you see in movies or the ghost shows, the 3 scratches multiple times. I've had bruises where they could not be explained. I know that we work with someone who used to astral travel and come back with bruises on what they were doing. So we have learned from those lessons, except I do open myself up, and I am in that space that if they're going to make their mark, if you will, that they're going to show me that they're around in some sort of way. It doesn't scare me. I look at it like it's a child and I'm like, okay, that's cute. Glad you could do that, but let's work on healing you. Healing the client is first and foremost, and then working into the energy of what's ever around them, right? I'm not going to say attached or possession, because generally that's not the case. It's just energy that's in their space as well. In Shades of Spirit, we strive for our clients to leave better than they came in. We strive when we are in a location to leave that space better than when we came in. Is it going to happen every single time overnight? Absolutely not. Again, it's the free will, and it's just multiple people in the home. I have done house clearings to where they might rent a room out. Right? We were just at a location where they did that. So we did our best to clear the energy out of that space. The homeowner has the direct power to tell us, yes, clear it out. But we also respect the privacy of somebody like that. So the door was shut and locked. We didn't go in there. We just sent that energy through that space. But as soon as they walk in that door, they could bring that energy right back in that front door, and it can be held into their space. So it's a little bit more upkeep when it comes down to situations like that. Or if you have roommates that you live with or room with or whatever it might be, if you're in college and you have things like this that come up, that's because you're sharing that space and those walls. And it's a lot more work initially of getting yourself set up to be protected energetically, through crystal grids, right? I'm making crystal grid candles for those of you that don't feel comfortable putting a grid out into your space. It's this beautiful crystal candle. No one has to know the meaning behind it, but I've been making a lot of protection ones lately for people to keep on their nightstand, and maybe they'll have one on, their side of the couch on their end table, because that energy and the essential oils and the Reiki infused in it is helping the healing and helping that protection. They might put it on their desk at work, even though they're not going to light it. It doesn't have to be lit, but it tells a story and it gives that energy and that space back. You can contact me if you're interested in that as well. So when we're looking at these energies, right, we also make sure the space is being healed and the land is being healed. And this is the part where we have to trust. We just have to trust that what we're doing is working, right? I don't generally have skeptics call me to their homes to help them or their family members or their space. Usually, if they're at that space, they're pretty open to what's going on. But I remind them they've got to trust. They've got to find that faith within, whatever that is. What is your belief system? Who do you pray to if you pray? What kind of mantras do you have? That's all brought into that space with us. And also, letting them know what's to come when we do clear this out and how to take care of it. Not everything is what you see on TV. We're going to walk into a space and you're going to see scratches on the doors. And, for me, it's feelings. Like right now in the moment, I get dizzy when I feel lower energies come through. I feel like I'm being pulled in a certain direction. And that's generally what I do is I follow my gut, my intuition, my psychic senses into that space. And then I tune in with my clairs and see what's going around or what's coming around me. What's the message? If anything, what do I need to look out for? It isn't always easy. It isn't always safe. Initially, if you have a really aggravated spirit in the space, trying to affect the people, if you will. But I have faith in my spirit team, my angels, right? The ascended masters I work with, the healers I work with, and beyond. And I know that they're all in my corner. And if we can work with them as the chosen ones, if you will, and understand that respect part of it as well, then we step out of fear and we're able to move into that space. So then guess what? You get the call, right? So segment one, that was, hey, everything's going great. This is real time. Now you get the call. So sometimes I'll get that call or text, shows up on my phone, and maybe it's a private message they've done, whatever. And it's help. I think that there's something in my house, or help. I think my daughter might have an attachment, or it could be from, I get referrals from people all the time. They're texting me, at all hours saying, hey, this is what's going on. My first response a lot of the time is going to be like, man, I just wanted dinner and just like hang out on the couch. No, that's not my first response. My first response is, what do we need to do to help these clients? What do we need to do to move forward? I can't do everything with someone in person because it just depends on the location as well. I can do a lot of it remotely, which we have another one remotely coming up that we're going to be working with the Fierce Four on, where children and the homeowner is being affected by energies in their home, but they're not somewhere I can get to quickly. So we can start the process this way, right? I've seen these energies from ages 4 to 5. They come to me at night. So I understand that nighttime is a lot of where this activity picks up, right? And it was the scary, fear-based energies. The intimidation worked for a while until I could turn it off, and then I could just ignore them. And as I got older and they kept coming in, their intimidation worked for a while until I realized that I had the power, right? And I also knew that sometimes it came from the energy within the home. Right? I didn't grow up in a bad home, but my mom had health issues and my dad suffered from health issues from time to time. So their energy was not always positive, right? And then the hormones of having, siblings in the home and all those type of things going on. Not to mention in the middle school years, I had 2 very good friends who lost their moms. Very heavy times and energy coming in, and understanding that that wasn't all just me, that I was actually being indirectly affected by everyone else's energy, and teaching that to people. Sometimes that's the only thing that's going on, is that you're indirectly as an empath being affected by that energy, right? When you get a call from a client, you have a few things that go through your mind, right? Things we have to rule out before we go to any location. And so I'm going to get to that when we come back for segment 3, is what do we look for? What are the questions that we ask? What is it that you can look for if you have activity in your home? Things that we're going to make sure that everybody's on the same page, make sure everyone's healthy and strong in order to do that. Then we're going to talk about the fear of what other people think and why we keep this so closed-lipped a lot of the times, because we're afraid that people think that we're crazy, right? Or just they dismiss us. And so now we think we're crazy. And then how to stay empowered as well. You guys go to Facebook, Shades of Spirit LLC. July 10th is our Sunset with Spirit group reading and healing circle. It's out in Fallbrook. It's around a lovely pool area. I think the first comment out of everyone's mouth when they showed up to this last one was, the energy here feels so good. And that's because the owners are fantastic. And she works on keeping her energy in her space just pure and light. If you're looking for some messages, a spirit check-in, and a healing circle at the end of it, LaShawn and I are putting that on. That'll be at 5 o'clock on Saturday Friday, July 10th. You have a few tickets left that I only keep about a 10-person minimum to keep it intimate. We also have the Shades of Spirit dining experience at 5:30 on July 15th. That's a Thursday. I only have 3 tickets left, folks. So we get a 3-course fabulous meal by Chef G. They're up in Wildemar. If you live in San Diego, do what I do, drive up, grab a glass of wine at one of the local wineries, and then head over to the event for dinner and messages from Spirit. Every person gets a reading from me as well when it comes to these events. And then we have a paint and sip with Ashley. That is a paint and sip with Spirit. That's at 5 o'clock out in Fallbrook on July 17th. So stay tuned. I'll be back right after this break. My name's Jamie. We call him Jakey. That's a great time. Anywho, I have spirit brain because I already started opening up to do readings. And so now I'm sorry. He says, please don't call me Jakey. Jacob. I love it. My producer's name is Jacob. I've got a Jacob. It's easy to remember. With that being said, you guys, we're talking about when darkness starts to fuel us, right? And it starts to fuel the energy of our space. And we start to understand that that's coming in and around us and what we can do to kind of eliminate that energy. Now, the first thing we do is that when we get that call, right, or that text or that message, I want to make sure everyone's safe. That is first and foremost, is everyone okay? Is everyone safe, right? And then we have a list of questions that we actually run through on that same token. So for me, it's just making sure that, have they ever had any, not psychotic episodes. It depends on the situation. I've had some pretty intense ones lately. So those are, questions that we ask. Is there any mental health issues in the family? We go through this checklist. You might actually hear us after we talk to you say, we're going to need an evaluation from your doctor before we can continue, for both our safety and the family safety and the individual safety. Not everything is a demonic possession. Sometimes it's just that something has triggered a response within someone that has caused mental issues to kind of, come to the forefront. Maybe they've battled them for a long time and just found a weak spot in themselves. So we want to make sure that they're happy and they're healthy. Once we get the all clear, then we can go in. If it's something where we're working with an energy really kind of attached to someone, which again, this doesn't happen very often, you guys. That more along the lines, it's just energies that come through our home that are just trying to get a rise out of us. I know, Diane, you said that you've had spirits in the home. They weren't bad. Most of them are not. We'll see them walk by. Usually it's family or friends that have passed. It might be a neighbor who passed. And I know I have a student who had that happen, just come strolling in as a spirit and kind of interfered with a reading, actually, which was interesting. But not all of them are bad, but sometimes there are ones, just like in human form, that are trying to take advantage of us. So we do make sure that everyone is safe, right? And I'm not going to say that if you have mental issues, that's just the only reason as well. Energies will find their way in. I do believe in some type of hierarchy in the lower realms as well as the higher realms, right? So you have got your source or God, whatever your belief system is. You've got the angels, right? You've got the different phylums of angels. You've got your archangels. We've got our spirit guides, our own angels, our team. So I do believe in that, but I also believe that there is a different type of hierarchy when it comes down into these lower realms as well. I'm not going to sit here and say, heaven and hell. That's not how I see it. I just see them in realms and positions, and where that energy resides in and where I have to go to, I know how low I'm getting in. We kind of have the ones that come through and just are testing out the waters. We have the ones that kind of want to have that control and power as well, and in between. And so it really does depend on what we can see. If you're doing this and you aren't trained and you haven't tuned into your psychic abilities and your mediumship skills, you aren't going to know what level you're working in necessarily. And that becomes difficult when we're trying to help those energies on the other side. And we want to work with them until we know what we're working with. And that's where that kind of gets a little dicey for people. And I just like to make sure you understand that you really need to be somewhat educated, somewhat trained, and understand what you're getting into, especially if you're going to go into someone else's home. Please do not do this if you are not fully aware of how to work with energy, how to move the energy out, how to work with your spirit teams, because that just makes it an even bigger mess, because sometimes we just add that fuel to the fire of that spirit on the other side. right? So making sure everyone's healthy, heading them over to the doctor, getting an evaluation, making sure that we can tune into the energy of the space, see what else is going on as well. So before we get to fear of what others think, I want to get to Ashley's card, and then Diane Bomba, I will do a reading for you as well. I'm pulling it out of the Moonology book again for you, Ashley, since today is the full moon, and I love it because it is the full moon in Virgo card, and it's you are good enough. So stop doubting yourself, right? Everything you're doing at this point, and up until this point, has been because you were doing it at your speed. So that's what they're showing me first and foremost, that you're doing it at the time you're supposed to be doing it, that you're doing it on your terms as opposed to someone else's terms now, that you've taken your power and you have really evolved that, and now you're giving it out to others. This says, find a fine balance between the cosmic and the mundane in your daily life. So finding the balance between spirit and the daily and day in and day out activities. It says worrying too much will attract more things to worry about. Well, that actually goes with the topic, when we're in that state of worrying about financial responsibilities, or am I doing this well enough, or, all those type of things, we're attracting that same energy to us. Have you been overly critical of yourself? An apology may be in order. Sometimes we need to apologize to ourselves for being overly critical. And sometimes that being overly critical on ourselves then comes out on others. So just standing back and being a little bit more humble in your space and having more compassion for yourself is what they're talking to me about for you. Stop second guessing yourself. Raise your karma by doing something good for someone else. And I know you do that day in and day out. You're always there for people to help them, and you're bringing that good energy to you. Now, the card is green, Ashley, so I'm really working in that heart chakra for you as well. And it's self-acceptance. That is the message from your team to work on during this full moon, is go out there and let that moon wash all of that off of you so that you can step back into that space of self-worth and self-acceptance and self-love. And I will leave you with that. So, you guys, when you're working in this field and, you don't talk much about what is the darker side, right? Again, this is from my perspective only, and working with a team that sees similar things. When we do our remote viewing, like we talked about with Gabbing with Gabby. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, go over to her YouTube page, Gabbing with Gabby. And she interviews myself, Ashley, and LaShawn. And then she interviewed the three of us together, and we did a reading for her. It's really cool. Check her out. She's an awesome friend of mine. But when we talked about how we remote view, we're able to see into properties. We take our notes. We're in completely separate parts of California, and we come up with a lot of the same things that tie in and weave and give more answers to what's happening. So when, I tell people what I do when it comes to this, I do tiptoe around it because I do have a fear of what other people think, right? Nowadays, not so much. Back in my younger days, absolutely. I would tell people, okay, I could kind of talk to people on the other side, and I would hem and haw. But now there are so many people that I don't even know how they're finding me. They just are, to help them with these energies that are coming in that are heavier and more oppressive. Because I'm supposed to be doing this, and I know I'm supposed to be doing this, and I know the direction I'm supposed to be heading in. And I do feel a little reluctant from time to time because it is a huge task, but I'm not going to avoid it. I'm going to allow it involve naturally. But if you have activity in your home, right? The biggest fear for me wasn't spirit. The biggest fear was, what was somebody else going to say to me? What's their view of me now, right? Are they going to let their friends play with my kids at my house if they knew this type of work that I did? And a few years ago, when I kind of came out of the medium closet, how many of them were supportive and liked and shared my page and have had readings from me since then? It was liberating, to say the least, right? How we fear human rejection from others will keep us closed-lipped when we have activity in our home, or we feel like something is different within one of our, children. Like I had a mom call who just needed some help immediately, and I don't understand what the switch was. And I have friends that are therapists that I will run things past to make sure I'm asking the right questions. But at the end of the day, they are so afraid of what others think because this is not something that is normally talked about in this type of way. So all of a sudden, as they're reaching out to me, I know now is the time for me to do this topic. It's been almost a year since I've done Eye of Soul Radio. You don't hear me talk about working with these lower level energies to this level. Are there negative energies out there in the world? Absolutely. They're both in human form and they're both in spirit form, right? Are there good people in life? Yes, there are good people in life and there's good people in spirit form, right? Love outnumbers, outshines, if you will, right? The brightness of it, that lower level energy, that fear-based space that we're in. If you are just kind of fearful or you feel a little anxious when spirit is around you, but you know it's not negative, that's okay. You can ask your spirit team to move them out of your space. You can ask your angels to tell them, okay, I'm not real comfortable with them being in here. I feel like this might be a family member or friend. If they're here for my highest and best, they can kind of stay, and you start understanding how that works energetically. But if it's something to where they're pulling the blankets off of you at night, yes, this has happened to clients before. If they have toys that turn on, it is kind of like some of these shows, right? I'm not going to say everything isn't like the shows. Some of it is legit stuff. The TV comes on and off for no apparent reason. I had a hotel that I'd stayed at years ago with my parents, and I could hear, I don't know if I could do it with this mic, that sound of the flipping of the handle in the hotel room next to my dad's side of the bed. I knew, and this was in Seattle, by the way, folks. I knew that that was an energy trying to get my dad's attention. Now, could it have been someone that he had been in Vietnam with, that maybe had family there that was drawn to his energy? There could have been so many things. Could it have been a family member? Could it have just been a spirit that was drawn to my dad's energy while he was sleeping and wherever he was astral traveling? Who knows? But then again, we all went on a family trip a couple years later, and that exact same thing happened, but this time it was with my brother. These things happen. It's not like a one-time deal where maybe the handle was just lifted up a little bit. And we go and investigate why that happens and then tune in and figure it out. So there are things that happen. Cabinets can be left open, right? All of a sudden a glass falls off the counter and you're like, how the heck did that happen? Where did it come from? Half that happen all the time. So this can be a thing, and it isn't always bad. But if you feel like it's just making you very uncomfortable, it's okay to call and have us check it out remotely and just see what the energy is around and help you work in that space with them. You guys do go over to our YouTube page, Shades of Spirit, as well as checking out Gabbin with Gabby, because we do a whole bunch of cool things. Ashley just did another paint. She's doing chakra painting, so check that out on there with her. LaShawn does all sorts of really cool things on YouTube. I can't even tell you all the things because she does so many. She did one about singing bowls, so if you're interested in that, go watch that over there. Go check out the Reserved Garden. They are that kind of speakeasy style restaurant that I am working with monthly to do those dinners that we do the third Thursday of the month. I don't know. There's a lot more to go on. So let's take a quick break and come back. Diane will do your reading, and then we'll finish up our topic on when darkness fuels you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eye of Soul Radio. I am Psychic Medium Jaime. We are finishing up the topic when darkness fuels you. This is a topic that actually could be multiple shows, which I'm sure it will be. Before I get to the final part of our show, I want to do a quick reading for Diane since she asked to see what Spirit had to say. I pulled the Have Faith in Your Dreams card. It's a beautiful card with these purple flowers. So they're talking about lavender for you is a good thing to have right now, along with doing any type of active meditation or bring something in. Maybe it's just lavender. Flowers as well of that purple color to remind you of your connection with spirit and opening up that crown chakra, and the lavender using it to use to help you with relaxing and sleeping, because I am seeing where there's a little bit of a disturbance in that. I don't know if you're not sleeping as well or as long, but using some like in a diffuser, if you will, or make little lavender sachets, put them in your pillows if you don't have allergies to that. And they are talking about for you, if you haven't saged or if you can't sage, doing a cleansing of your space to just bring that energy up. Because what's cool is it says, have faith in your dreams. Stay focused on what you want and bring this energy to you. And that is going to be working on manifesting, because it says just because you can't see it in your dreams, it doesn't mean they're not manifesting. So make sure that you are working on that level of manifesting what you want by keeping your energy up high, working on getting that good night's sleep, drawing your boundaries in the sand before you go to bed. Maybe you need to go out and ground a little bit now that it's getting warmer outside in the evening, and just put your feet in the grass or just even the concrete and just do some earthing. Get yourself in there and bring that energy out of your body before you go to sleep. Don't look back, stay focused on moving forward. And that is something they're starring, underlying, highlighting, circling. Do not look back. Keep your focus to what's happening in the future because you've already learned the lessons from looking back. You don't need to do that any longer. Sometimes that's the loop we get held up in instead of moving forward. Be patient as events unfold and dig a little deeper to find a little more courage. And that courage they're showing is the strength within you and allowing yourself to be in that space. Where Ashley's card was green and working in the heart center, for you, they really are working on your crown chakra. And they're really trying to bring these messages through and these signs through and trying to alleviate some of the pressure in your head. So I don't know if when you lay down, if you're having pressure or what's going on for all of a sudden, like my sinuses hurt, the top of my head feels heavy. But that lavender is going to help that relaxing part of it. I forgot where you live, but if you're in that Temecula, Wildemar area, she even travels. I had Claudia on a few weeks ago, who is the massage therapist and Reiki master who fuses those two things together. That's what they're showing would be very beneficial for you to loosen this up, because the longer I sit in your energy, the tighter my neck gets and my shoulders get. It's don't look forward. Trust that what you're putting out there is going to come to fruition. We just need to move some of this energy out for you, bring you into a calming space to continue that ascension for what you're looking at trying to accomplish by the end of this year. And I will definitely leave you with that. So if you need Claudia's, I don't think that you're that close then. We can do distance energy for you as well. So maybe a distance energy Reiki session would also be beneficial for you. So you guys, as we finish off the show, when darkness fuels us, both in spirit form and human form, I know that we're brought up in a space and an understanding between movies and religion, that exorcisms can only be done by priests who need to get permission from the church. I understand the magnitude of this and will never diminish that fact. I also know that there's a lot of people who can move directly into that energy as well and help clients out. So I don't want to bring any like devaluing of that, right? And on a lot of religions too, they look at it from the standpoint where God can only cast out this evil spirit. And if those are your beliefs, then by all means continue that and find help within, your church or your faith. At the same time, know that we're trained to be in that space of fear. And so if we can have multiple people be able to help energies on the other side, even if they're nasty energies, right, that are causing havoc, if we can help that energy ascend in its own time, in its own process, and work on healing, or at least just seeing any relatives on the other side or its spirit team, right, because they've disconnected from all of that, and help them heal, we're also going to help ourselves. We're also going to help the people within the home. At the end of the day, we have to remember we're empowered, right? So how did the story go in that first segment, right? Well, when everything was fine and dandy, came home from school, had that nice dinner, watched the movie and popcorn, where did the switch flip, right? Well, this is how it ended. There was an aversion to holy water, different tongues were spoken, and layers of spirit energy holding space in someone else. Layers of it, right? It was someone who was weakened, right? They didn't ask to have this happen to them. I had a client one time who was hearing voices. She was seen by medical professionals. They could not diagnose her one way or the other, right? Had the documentation. She had visions of taking her own life, dark visions. She was able to see the dark side of others. She would go home a certain way and would always think about what happened if I just drove my car over the side. That's that husband that was just beside himself because he didn't know what happened. It was a dark energy for this particular client who was using her as a puppet to something lower, wanted to prove its worth on the other side in those lower realms. Okay. I will not say darker. They get a kick out of that, right? I'm just calling them lower. I'm not giving them any power or any title because that's what they want. And that's not what's going to come from me. After her sessions, we were actually able to help remove the energy from her, right? And help that energy itself. Now, I can't go in a show and explain how. Why? Because it's different for each person that I work with. It's different for each person that our group works with, each home, right? We've had homes that wouldn't sell because they were being occupied by spirits and making it feel just uncomfortable for any potential buyers to come through. So it doesn't have to be a person. It can be a space. And when we walk through, it's like, no, we're not going to play Casper the Friendly Ghost and try and scare out these new homeowners because you want this space. This isn't where you belong. And it's working with that energy. Sometimes it takes a couple visits or a couple sessions to heal that in all aspects of it, whether we're saging and doing prayers for it, Reiki energy in the space. There's so many different levels that we can do to work on the healing and cleansing and purging of those energies in that space. We don't know what happened on that property necessarily unless we do the research, right? And if I gave all my secrets away, then people are going to try it, and it's not going to work because they don't have the proper tools to do that. So I'm not going to go into so much detail of that, but I see and I feel the pain of these energies. And I also, as an empath, see and feel it in the clients that we have. And it takes a lot of energy for us to be able to work with them. And I don't want you to try and channel them if you don't understand how you're doing that. If you're in that space of having the ability to do so, then please do so, right? If you're comfortable. On the other hand, if you're not, find a way to learn how to do this and to how to handle this energy. At the same time, there are a few of us who can help move into the darker sides, and there are many who will take advantage. So if somebody's over here trying to charge you $7,000 to clear your house from any negative energies or spells cast on you, I really want you to think about that, because they're just going to continue pulling money out of you, and it becomes a scam. So also look, if you do have this activity, on how people can help you. This advice today I give you is going to be to re-empower you and stay strong in your beliefs. Cleanse your homes on a weekly basis, right? We're finishing off this full moon. This would be a great time to do a type of cleansing of your own home, both physically, taking things out of the home that you no longer need, and then energetically. Clear clutter and debris out of your space, especially corners, garages, closets. Energy likes to hang in there. So if you have a space that you just don't like to open the closet door or go in and you feel wigged out, well, energy likes to be in that space as well. On the days where your energy just is a little bit weaker or lower, call in your spirit team and the ascended beings around you for healing, and ask for a bubble of protective white light so that you're not being affected by this energy. You can teach this to your children as well. Don't let anyone in human form take your power. Have boundaries set, even if you're going to the grocery store. And remember that you are in control. Love and light prevails. It allows us to be in that higher vibration in space, and allows us to be in balance and in harmony. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. Join us again next week, Shades of Spirits, on Wednesday at 5 p.m. on Transformation Talk Radio and Shades of Spirit LLC, as well as me again, ISL Radio, next Thursday at 5. Have a great weekend. Thank you for listening in on Eye of Soul Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com with me, Psychic Medium Jaime. Return here next time so you can explore more of the lower level energies, realms, or dimensions. We will go through more darker spirit stories and provide more guidance and self-growth to those who need it. For more information about me, Psychic Medium Jaime, and the Eye of Soul, visit eyeofsoulradio.com. That's eyeofsoulradio.com. Eye of Soul Radio only on TransformationTalkRadio.com. See you next time.